Welcome. We are so glad you're joining us. I am so excited to introduce our very special guest today, Jane Carlton. Jane Carlton is a dream teacher and intuitive advisor holding 2 graduate degrees in the fields of dream studies and consciousness and transformative studies. She's taught graduate courses on dreams at the California Institute of Integral Studies and is also a professional gemologist, jewelry appraiser, with a special interest in the appearance of all kinds of gems in dreams, both literally and figuratively. Jane, I am so excited that you're joining us. Welcome.
Hi, Kelly. I am so excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's talk about your focus in dream work on navigating difficult periods in life with the help of dreams, inner voice experience, and synchronicities, and what you call moments of magic. So, can you share a difficult time in your life that you had that where dreams kind of helped you get through it?
Yes, thanks, Kelly. And before I share a story, I'd like to just take a moment to expand what our idea is of what dreams and dreaming are. So, we're all familiar with sleep dreams, spontaneous sleep dreams, and I include those in my talk and my orientation in my life on what dreaming is. But there's also things like those little things that come in between sleeping and waking. There's the imagination, things that come that you imagine. There is meditation. There's reverie, fantasy, spacing out, body sensing, inner voice experiences, waking dreamlike experiences, which I'm particularly interested in, and synchronicities are meaningful coincidences. So I'm going to tell some stories. I'm going to illustrate a collection of what those things are, and they oftentimes appear together. And I'm going to start with a little happy story, and then we'll go into things that are maybe a little bit deeper. But I want to start with a little happy magic. So um, last year I went on a vacation to Maui, and I was with a very good friend who's a skilled dreamer also. And the first night we were there, we said, let's ask for a dream. Let's incubate a dream tonight and see if we get some kind of a message from the island of Maui. Permission to be here and to have a nice time in this beautiful sacred place. So the dream I had that night was of this beautiful Polynesian woman. She's flying through the air. Her arms are outstretched, and she's coming to me to hug me. And she says, I love myself and I love you. And that was my welcoming dream to Maui. So I woke up in the morning like, yay, I got a great dream. And my friend also had a wonderful dream, but we'll just talk about mine today. So that day, so here we are, this wonderful welcome. And that's a moment of magic. It's dream incubated. And that day I went to the beach and I'm swimming with the turtles, and I get out of the water and I see these plastic filaments that are coming out of the sand, and they're like these long strands. And I'm thinking, okay, I do not want turtles or fish eating this stuff. I'm going to dig it out. So dig, 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 dig with my naked hand, dig, dig, dig. I find out that it's the edge of a very large tarp that had been shredding with age. And I wasn't able to pull out the threads I thought I was able to get. And so I keep digging. I end up digging a good half hour or so. And all the time I'm digging, I'm thinking, God, I wish I had a glove. I wish I had a glove because the sand's getting under my nails. It's getting a little irritated. I wish I had a glove. And then I realized that I'm never going to be able to get this whole thing out. And I need to pretty much stop and find a way to cut out what I could cut out of there. And I walked down to the water's edge, gently lapping waves, very, very gentle waves. And with the next wave that comes up as I go to the water's edge, here floats directly to me a perfect rubber glove, just like out of nowhere. I mean, that was a moment of magic. I put the glove on, I keep digging for a while, and eventually, finish my project. So That's a happy little moment of magic. Both of those, the two came within 24 hours of each other. And what I propose is that in life, if we are receptive to looking for things like this and paying attention when they show up, our everyday life can be enchanted. It can be a little bit more fun, and that's really that's what feeds my soul. That's probably my biggest spiritual practice.
Mm, I love that. And it's such a great idea. You go some new place, or if you're going through something, to pray for a dream, call on a dream to help to give you a sign that you're in the right place at the right time or not. And in your case, you did. And that was such a great dream. And then the glove coming to you like as a waking dream, the request, and then it coming right to you. It's amazing. So you talk a lot about inner voice experiences. So, can you tell us a little bit about what that is and maybe give us an example?
Yeah. So there's a whole spectrum of experiences that go in the category of inner voice experiences. It can be that inner dialogue, the voice the inside internally that says, "Oh, I want to eat that chocolate cake." And the other voice says, "No, no, no, you're on a diet. Don't eat the cake." And the voice says, "Well, I'll just eat one or two bites." So there's our own inner dialogue. There is also included in that spectrum hearing auditory messages in sleep dreams. There's also hearing messages that give us information internally. There is the well documented prophecies and voices in all religious uh, belief systems. And then there's also inner voice experiences that are, not helpful voices that can come when you have mental illness. So there's a whole spectrum of inner voice experiences. And I have found that at times when I've been under incredible duress, there has been an emergence of a voice that has come to help me. And the first time I really truly remember it, I was 19 and I was walking to my car in the evening after working one day. And I get into my car and I didn't realize that a man was behind me and he jumped in the back of my car, grabbed me by the neck from the back seat, had a knife, and told me to start the car. And I will finish the story saying nothing bad happened to me other than that. But so anyway, he jumps in my car and now he tells me to start the car. I have to start the car and drive, and he's asking me where I live. And meanwhile, I'm going, "Get out of my car! What the hell are you doing in my car?" And I'm, um, and then he's a little tighter on my neck. Where do you live? And then a voice, clear as day, came and said, "Lie." And when that voice came, it actually centered me. It got me out of my fluttered place and it got me really, really clear that I needed to do something to help myself. And so I lied. I made up this big story that I lived very far away. And then I realized that if I chattered a lot and talked really high pitched voice and really fast, I would probably annoy this guy so much that he wouldn't want to be near me. And that was my goal. So I'm talking faster and higher pitched and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he ends up telling me to stop the car eventually, and he just robbed me. And that was it. He jumped out of the car, robbed me, and end of that story. Uh, it was, of course, stressful, traumatic, had all those things that came later with that. But it was the first time I heard that voice that gave me guidance and helped me center. And I have another story. Another time I heard that voice was during a divorce, and I was really unhappy. And I was, dragging myself to work, and I'm in the elevator going to work. And I'm in the elevator. I'm just going, "Oh God, I'm so lonely. I'm so sad. How am I ever gonna survive this?" And I hear the voice. Now this time it sounds external. It sounds like somebody's in the elevator with me. And I know if you say you hear voices, most people don't want to share that because, it's always so often associated with mental illness. But I heard this voice and it said, "You always have yourself." And that message, that sweet little message, I actually get goosebumps when I remember that. That message really helped me. And it's one of my mantras. I never forgot that. And that's about, no, I don't know, 30 years ago that one came.
Oh, wow, Jane. Those both are such powerful examples. And I can sense the relationship that inner voice work has with dreams is it seems to come from a similar source. It's just one is in the nighttime when you're sleeping and one is awake. And but both kind of offering similar guidance and being attuned to that same kind of higher creative intelligence. You're making me remember a time that I was going through a very stressful time. And this was actually a voice in my dream. And I didn't realize that I was kind of stressing about getting a book deal and getting something happening with my career. And there was this voice that came through and it said, "Have we taught you nothing?" I was like, oh, oh my God, you're right. I know better than this. What am I stressed out about these things for? And then my stress was gone. And it was like, I was able to navigate what was in front of me with much more grace than I would have otherwise. So I think sometimes our dreams and our dreaming mind in waking life and in dreams speak very symbolically, but sometimes we get a very direct set of guidance with words that we can understand. And if we're smart, we will listen. Lie, because that's probably not something that you would have done. It's not characteristic of you. I mean, so
Yeah.
wow. So what is that? That's amazing. Okay, so we've got dreams, we've got inner voice, and now I know another like part of the sacred trinity of your work is also work with synchronicities. So how do synchronicities work for you, and how do they guide us?
Well, I love synchronicities, and they can be very large synchronicities. They can be small synchronicities, and I'm always looking out for them. And I actually keep a log of them. So what they are meaningful coincidences. And sometimes, in life we need a little inspiration. And periodically, I'll review my log of synchronicities or coincidences. I guess a synchronicity could be the glove showing up in the water. I'm thinking about it, I need it, and the glove shows up. Um, I was giving another talk for the Shift Network Global DreamWorks Summit in 2020, and I was sharing how another inner voice experience had come, which told me to go to ancestry.com, which led me to meet my brother and his family. And in the talk, I was sharing how my little niece that I have now, because I honored the voice and went to ancestry.com, my little 5-year-old niece is my little mini me gemologist. She loves gems and things. And as I was talking, it was later shared that the producer who was helping record the talk, little 5-year-old daughter, had slipped a note under her door, and she's wearing headphones, so this little girl, beautiful little girl, doesn't know what we're talking about. But just as I'm sharing about my 5-year-old niece, her little girl slips a little drawing under her door, and it's a red gemstone, right when I'm talking about how much my little niece loves gemstones. And the other little layer to it is that my birthstone is ruby. So I like red gemstones. And so I'm going to show you. I then went out and bought it's a little glass red gem. I don't know if you can see it, a little
Oh my
sparkly
God,
thing.
there's nothing little about that.
And so I'm a real believer in getting tangible talismans that will remind you of magic, remind you of a message that our lives are much bigger than we realize. And it's especially helpful when you're in a difficult time. And so,
Oh God, that is beautiful. And I mean, I think a lot of us we recognize probably not all the synchronicities. I'm sure there's thousands of us every day, thousands of synchronicities that pass us by, just like dreams that we don't remember. But I love that you take that extra step. It's not just with a remembered dream that you take physical action on it, looking for a talisman, but in your waking life, synchronicities as well, finding a talisman of those. I think that's something that I hadn't heard. And I love the log of them just as proof these things happen, because it's almost like the synchronicities and these inner voice experiences and these dream coincidences and synchronicities seem to happen outside of ordinary reality. And what a great thing to show and tell to our ordinary self. Look, here's proof of the magic to the part of us that likes to forget. So I think it's interesting you brought up the jewels and the gems because you're a gemologist, which is such an interesting differentiator from you, like you and all the rest of the great dream workers on the planet. So how do you see dreams through the eye of a gemologist? What are some of the unique ways that you're able to perceive the magic of dreams through the eyes of your being a gemologist?
Well, I love all the analogies to gems and jewels and dreams being gems and jewels. And of course, I'm always interested in the presence of dreams, presence of jewels, jewelry, gems in my dreams. And just last week, I had a dream with a necklace that had a beautiful design on it. And so, haven't done anything with that dream yet, other than remember it. But it's like, oh, it's a good dream, which, I have to say that first of all, there's a couple of thoughts around that too. Is that all dreams really are gems. They're all jewels, of course. And I'm especially drawn to sparkly things. It just seems to be what invigorates me. And then one of the things I'm curious about is how do we know when it's a healing moment? And there's some kind of a feeling tone that's effervescent, that's sparkling for me. And people are always drawn to, I know in my work as a gemologist, I can see in someone's eyes when the particular gemstone that's the one for them is touching something deep in their soul. There's a change in a feeling about a person when they're looking at something that is the gem for them. Could be the color, the sparkle, whatever it is. So for me, those are the moments in life that I look for because we know that life is really challenging. And in the midst of that, we have these opportunities for healing and insight and inspiration and help. And so, one of my questions is how do you know when it's a healing moment? Again, that question. And so sometimes we know it when it's happening, and other times we don't know it until later. And I will share a little story kind of about that in a little bit. But sometimes we need to ponder a moment in our lives, a circumstance. We don't always need to define what it is. So, like these moments of magic that show up, I'm not as interested in what they are or where they come from. I'm more interested in that they do come, and how do they inform my life? How do they enchant my life? That's kind of more my focus.
Mm.
And sometimes we need time to ponder. Huh?
I think, yeah, and I'm connecting with something that I hadn't quite connected with before. I've heard of the phrase diamond in the rough, and we know that and you know better than anybody that diamonds are, and probably the rest of the gems as well, are formed from pressure, and they start as something that is a less precious thing or something that we consider less precious like coal, and then through the process of heat and pressure it becomes something. So when you were just speaking, I was thinking that the difficulties that we go through are, it's the process of us becoming jewels and creating them in ourselves, and if we haven't seen the jewel yet, it's because it's still in process. Like you said, you just have to have a little patience and then look for it. So ooh, it's just a different skew on difficulties.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
That's really good. There are times when we're deep in a transformative time in our lives, a deep initiation, which is I have been in a deep initiation for the last 5 months, which I'd love to share. And
Please
as
do.
an introduction to that, I'd like to say that there are times where we have to be in a really challenging situation, and those moments of magic don't show up for a while. And so for me, this is speaking for me, what I have learned is that I need to be patient. I need to be in the process. I need to feel my feelings. I need to work with what I can. I need to get up every day, take my shower, go to work, take care of what needs to be taken care of. and then know that at some point something's going to come through that's going to shift the pain. And it's like having a boulder and you get a little crack in the boulder and there is a little seam of some gold in there. There's an inner alchemy that's in play. And we wanted to, and it's reflected also in frustrating dreams and chaotic feelings. And so we don't want to be in that place. We want to see that pass as quickly as it can. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But I've learned that sooner or later something does come through. So if I may, I'll share. And I also want to say sometimes you have to look at the for the tiniest thing, like the big moment, like the glove coming on the beach. That's like a big thing. It's like, wow, this is really big. But what about little teeny teeny tiny moments that can start shifting the circumstance? Um, so my story that I'm still in the process with for 5 months now is that in November, my mother, well, actually, I'll start with the dream, the foreshadowing dream. I had a dream in October that my mother was flying on a horse through the sky, and she was young and beautiful, and she had her hair in a ponytail, long blonde ponytail flying. And I'm on a horse next to her, and I'm holding her hand, and we're on two horses flying through the air. And I log the dream, and I say to myself, because my mother was 86, I say this might be foreshadowing the time when I will be a psychopomp from my mother when she crosses to the other side. And 3 weeks later, she was diagnosed with late stage pancreatic cancer, early November, and she passed 6 weeks later, just before Christmas. So really challenging time. And in my life, there wasn't a lot of time to mourn her loss because, as her trustee and the one person in charge of everything, I just had to roll up my sleeves and get to work on taking care of all the things that need to be taken care of. It was rough, I have to say. And the day after she passed, I was at her house all day, and I was feeling pretty down, you know and I went out into the backyard and I asked the universe. So one of the keys is ask the universe sometimes. Like I need a little help. I need a message. I need something that tells me there's something bigger than this pain. And I'm looking at the sky and I'm saying, just like, send me something. Just send me something. And just then, a flock of about 6 geese or so fly over the house. They're flying so low that I think they're going to land on the roof right next to me, right over the family room. And that's the room where my mother's husband, who had passed a few years earlier, had a print of the same number of geese on the wall. And the geese had special meaning for him and for his life. And the day before she passed, she saw somebody in the room, an invisible person in the room. And so, of course, there's all kinds of magic that happens when someone passes. There's perceiving things that we don't see. But I'd like to think that that might have been Richard, and the geese flying over was just a sign that there's things in play in the world behind this world that can give me a little bit of a reminder that it's not just about the mundane pain that I'm in.
Oh, I love that perspective, and that doesn't feel like a small, tiny, little thing at all. Um, I wouldn't minimize that at all. It feels very powerful, and what a beautiful dream that foreshadowed your mom's passing, and to give you some. I think there's nothing like a dream that can help us heal. Um,
Yeah.
Almost better than anything, probably better than anything. Even knowing that it's inevitable, there's something. And how, what a beautiful image of you holding hands on these horses flying through the sky. Oh, that's precious.
Thank you. And there's actually this story, the magic of this story unfolded over the next, several weeks or months actually. And
Mm.
yeah, that was the first piece. Before my mother passed, in the weeks before she passed, she had a dream of a little bird, a little brown bird, a simple brown bird walking towards her. And the bird was emanating peace and love, and the
Oh,
biggest thing for her was dignity. It was emanating dignity. And so I would ask her, tell me your dream, mom, share your dream. And so she would share it, and it would she'd add to it, periodically. And, there were little variations on it. But essentially, the dignity piece was interesting for me because I didn't realize that dignity was so important to her. And my mother
Mm.
was a refugee at the end of World War II from Poland. And so her childhood experiences were challenging to help her feel a sense of dignity at times. So that simple dream too was super super powerful for her, and it was powerful for me. I learned something about my mom from that. So there was that dream, and then a few weeks after she passed, and I'm going to my mom's house, and I'm cleaning out the house and going through all her belongings, and that, of course, as you know, is incredibly difficult. Um, I was driving home and I had taken Richard's ashes were still at her house. And so I had Richard's ashes and I put them in a bag. And next to them, I slid a box of my mom's sequins and glittery things because she was a tailor and a seamstress and worked with, sewing and all kinds of things. And so the two were in the bag. So two things happened that afternoon. And this was a time when I was really feeling low. I pull in, I'm asking my mom, I'm saying, Mom, what is going to help me? What's going to make me feel better? I need something. And I stop at the signal, and the vanity plates in the car in front of me say, Dr. Beads. Dr. Beads. Well, for anybody else, it doesn't really mean much, but I'm a gemologist and I have all these wonderful gemstone beads. And my happy place is playing with my beads and making necklaces and things. So the prescription is do some bead work. So I did
Oh,
it. I got out my beads and I did, and they're out, and I play with them. The other thing that happened when I got home and I took Richard's box of ashes out of the bag and the box of glitter out of the bag, there in the bottom of the bag, one piece of glitter had fallen out of her box. And that one little piece of glitter was a little piece of glitter about so big in the shape of a golden angel.
oh,
so so I
oh
have
my God.
Richard's ashes. I've got the golden angel. His ashes are on my altar now with the angel on top of on his box. And so that was another that very, very simple. That's what I'm talking about. Like shrink it way down and pay attention and notice those
Mm.
things.
Oh, that is so powerful.
And yet
So,
there's more.
oh, and yet there's more. Okay, tell me more. But wait, there's
But
more.
wait, there's more. And so uh, later on that week, I asked my phone, I asked Siri, not going to say it too loud. I don't want her to wake up. Call my friend. And what does Siri do? She dials my mother's phone number.
Mm.
I see my mom's name on my phone and is getting ready to call my mom. And now my friend's name didn't sound anything like my mom's name. So there's another little teeny tiny thing, to
Oh.
notice. And then we've just got a couple more little things to add to the collection. So then just about 2 weeks ago, I had a dream, and my mom, it was my first dream of my mom. And in the dream, she's in a location with a group of people. And there's a friend of mine who has passed who's in that dream too. So I'm thinking, oh, this is on the other, someplace on the other side. And she's looking at me and she's telling a group of people, Jane knows what to do. She'll take care of it. And so I wake up, I go, oh, great, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the confirmation. I am doing a lot of things. I do know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that night at work, had a nice long work day at work. I had one more phone call to make in my appraisal work. I had a client inquiry to call, and I called her back. Even though I'd already worked a 10-hour day, I called this client inquiry, and it turned out that it's a woman who is inquiring about doing a pre-death estate appraisal because she's been diagnosed with the same cancer that my mom has, and she's preparing for her end of life. And as I was talking to her, I heard fear, I heard a lot of her her process. So I chose to spend about an hour of time just talking to her about her dreams, about finding a place in the imaginal, in the imagination that is a portal for a place of peace, a place where you can find comfort, a place where you can be at home and know that you're safe, and where a helper will show up. So, like, our friend Robert Moss says life rhymes. And here is this, I know what to do. Here's this phone call. I'm going to help this beautiful woman. And the final piece of the story so far is that the next day, and I went home that night, and this is when I really pondered it. And this is when the question was, how do we know this is a healing moment? And that's when I realized, okay, it's all tying together now. There is meaning. It isn't all just the suffering I'm going through. And the next day, I was mending a sweater with a tool that I had taken from my mom's sewing studio. First time I'd used the tool. And as I'm mending the sweater with this tool, I hear this scratching at the window. And I look up, and it's a little tiny brown bird trying to
Mm.
get into my room.
Mm.
So that's the full cycle on that story. Thank you for the
Oh,
long story.
so far, but I what I'm loving is that there's this difficult period of time that you're in the midst of, and yet it's almost like be a magpie, like be on the hunt for the bright and shiny, not in terms of a distraction, but for like those glints, those glimmers, and finding them. And they so it's almost like in the midst of anything we go through, if we look for those gems, those beads, those sparkles, those glimmers, we'll find them. And so I know that one way for I'm listening for what can we all learn from this, because this isn't just how cool Jane is that she's able to do this. I think you're paving the way and showing us that we can all do this. So one way perhaps is to acknowledge when they show up, recognize them, and do something physical with them. And I know you also have a process that you can take us through to help us through some active imagination. So give
Yes.
us let's go on a magical ride with you,
Okay.
Jane. We're
Yes.
in your hands.
And very quickly, I'm going to say, watch for them, be receptive, uh, have patience, know that the help will come. I mean, that's the biggest lesson. Take good care of yourself. Find ways to help other people when you're in pain, and find a place in imagination that you can go to that's going to bring you some peace. So let's go to a place in the imagination. Let's find a place, and it doesn't take much time. So what we're going to do is just a little moment of stepping into our imagination, and we're going to find a place that's going to be our place that we can return to anytime we want. And in that place, there's going to be a helper. So we're going to look for a helper there too. And all in 5 minutes. So take a nice deep breath. Really breathe in and breathe out. Take 3 deep breaths. And as you're taking a nice breathing moment to get yourself centered, go ahead and use whatever process you use to center yourself. I like to send my roots down into the earth and feel the vital light and the glimmering, sparkling of the earth come up through the soles of my feet and the base of my spine, filling my whole body up with this amazing, brilliant light. And breathe that in. Let all your cells take that in. And at the same time, feel the light from the far edges of the cosmos shining down on you from above and from all sides, entering your body from above and joining with the light from the earth. So we've got the place of soul and the place of spirit joining within you, filling you up. And take a minute to breathe out whatever you want to release at this time. And let those two swirling powers move through you and see what color they may be. And do they have some little sparkles in there somewhere? And now we're going to find ourselves in a beautiful place in nature. So as you're breathing, find yourself somewhere beautiful in nature. It can be a place you've dreamed, it can be a place you've visited, it can be a place that's just now magically appeared from who knows where for you. And find yourself there. Breathe it in. What fragrance is there? What do you see? What are the sounds around you? What do you feel? Do you taste anything while you're there? And while you're in this beautiful place, there's going to be a surprising helper show up for you. This is your place. This is your helper. So take a little turn. Slowly just turn around 360 degrees all around you and look and see what shows up for you. Who is that helper? What form does the helper take? Breathe that in. And when you've met your helper, give a little nod of acknowledgement. Maybe say a little hello. Say a thank you for appearing for me. And one more look at your beautiful place. This is your place. You can come back here anytime you want. You can dip your big toe into this magic place, even when you're in the middle of your busy day. It's always there for you. And every time you visit, you will see something new. And every time you visit, you will feel peace. You will feel safe. And your helper, and maybe many helpers, will show up for you. So take one more nice breath and say goodbye to this place for now and come on back to our room where we are now. Thank you.
Mm. Oh, that was such a beautiful journey, Jane. I feel so relaxed. I feel like I could go into the best sleep and dream. This would be a great meditation to listen to right before bedtime to get into a really good feeling place or before having something important to do or just on the regular, on the daily. I love it. So, this has been such a wonderful and insightful and really exciting conversation with many facets of the dream, synchronicities, inner voices, and synchronicities. So, is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to send us off with on our journey today?
Uh, I wish everyone that all times, when times are challenging and when times are not, that there's always moments of peace, magic, and sparkling gems that come your way. May it be so.
May it be so. I just want to remind everybody you can click on your screen to purchase premium access to the summit, which includes unlimited access to all of the summit sessions, transcripts, and also the bonuses. So make sure to do that so you can have this meditation that Jane just shared with us and also all of these different practices with you so you can carry them with you. And so that'll help you attract even more moments of magic and gems along your journey. So, Jane Carlton, I just want to thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest and such a wonderful ambassador of dreaming in the world. And you always inspire me, and you always bring a sparkle to my heart. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, everyone.
What a wonderful session with Jane Carlton. I just want to thank everyone for listening, watching, and participating. And until we all meet again, don't take your dreams lying down. And may the one you have tonight be so very sweet. Sweet dreams.